All right, so let me say hello and welcome to each and every one of you. Doug here with thelincolnlist.com. Let me welcome you to another weekly edition of Stock Market Mutterings, where my promise and guarantee to you has always been I will take a grope in the murkiness, try to make some sense out of this market for you, and try to provide you with some quality trade setups. As always, if you guys need help with your trading, you know where I'm at. Now, I got my work cut out. The pressure is on because I'm expecting that we are going to really be in a selective market up until the election, just like we have been in the last couple of weeks. And when I mean selective, I'm talking about more of a stock picker's market. It's very important about the stocks that you get into, and that's where it pays a premium. When the market's going in one direction and it's consistent and it has low volatility, mainly these bullish markets that we've been experiencing since the original coronavirus correction, when you do that, you can, I hate to say it, but you can practically throw darts, and if you're patient enough, everything's eventually going to find a way to go up. Here you're only getting maybe out of, like I have 100, maybe 110 or something stocks on a watch list that I'll look at every day. I know it sounds like a lot, but it's not. And out of those, you may have 4 great trading opportunities. And when I say that, I'm talking about clean, consistent, nice setups for what I'm doing. Maybe somebody out there is just finding everything is perfect, but to each his own. So let's start out with the market first, and I'll give you a couple of trade ideas and some stocks I think that are going against the trend and might be, let's call it for now, election proof, stimulus proof, that will continue to rise or continue to move with some consistency. Now, one thing I want to highlight is the other day I did this video, the trickle up, down. I don't even know the name of my damn video. Trickle, pull. We're still in this market. And what I'm talking about is you get these upward momentum moves. And then all of a sudden, one candle comes by and just cleans things out. I've been trading this AMD a lot lately, and this thing just keeps washing out. I mean, I'm talking about an intraday 5-minute chart. So you're getting moves like this early, followed by massive dumps, followed by rallies, followed by checkmark patterns. So, I mean, it's really all over the place. Now, that can be a good thing, but what you really have to focus on here that I really want to stretch to everyone about just importance about how to be a professional trader, how to make the most money possible when you're trading. And that's knowing when your cards are on the table and you have what you need and playing that with max risk. Then there's these times where the market's not quite behaving right. It's throwing some false signals. It's causing your strategy and your win rate to be questionable. So what I do is I normally in a bull market, I did the checkmark webinar, and I look for these things when they bounce from lows to continue to go to highs and then break highs. So in a bullish market, that's the target. The targets are stretched maybe $6, $10, $12 per share on something like an NVIDIA. When you get into a market like this, the setup is the same, but the target is shorter because the market is untrustworthy. And we're sort of a heart monitor market where it's just up, down, up, down. And if you get on the right side of it, you're rich. But it's easier said than done. So we're still in that kind of phase. So if I just bring up the SPY, we'll take a look at it real quick. I mean, most of the rest of the market indices are the same way, but we'll take a look at the bottom chart, which is the daily. We'll focus a little bit more on that. I mean, it's still holding support, still clustered around the 20-day moving average, but it didn't really go anywhere. If you start from what it started at the beginning of the week to the end of the week, it really kind of just stayed in this very, very tight range. It wasn't clean. It was messy, and the stocks that were following it were messy. So again, from now until the election, at least, or until there's a stimulus bill, I'm going to stay until after the election. I think a lot of questions will get answered, and the problems that's been created prior to this, the market will find answers on that as we move through the middle parts of November. But we have to trade through this period right now, and I think it's going to be one stock's going to be good one day, and it's going to be a pile of crap the next. Maybe you get back-to-back days, but it's going to be very selective names, so pay attention to those names. I want to give you a couple that I think here are really set up to do some good balancing. And one is a stock that I have owned, I'm very familiar with. I've had pretty good success with it, so that's normally a good sign. And that's Okta. I actually featured this maybe a few weeks back on the market mutterings when I said if it breaks this triple top high on the daily, you would get a break, and it did. It was a nice trade. I did a little tiny swing with this one, but I also kind of just bought the dips throughout, once it broke out for day trades, and that worked out really well. Now we've had this 6-day skid, and it's been pretty steep. So if I just kind of open this up a little bit, we're below all the major moving averages, which is kind of bearish. But if you look here below, you have this support that's in this zone right here. And you're very, very close to this. So I think this is something I want to look for as a little bit of money flowing back into this name, and it's a trade only right now. Maybe after the election, we can take a look at this thing and say, all right, maybe we want to put a little bit more money for a longer period of time. I think you could take a trade right here. If you're a swing trader, you could take a trade right here with a stop under this area, somewhere in here, if you're a little bit more risky in here. I think I would like to see one more challenge of this recent low, Friday's lows. And if we did that, I think it would be a pretty good idea to pick some up with a tight stop. You know, if you get there, it holds. I think you can at least get a quick bounce here that's worth about $10 to $15. It could be a really good trade. I think the cash value that we're looking for if you're scalp mode is pretty good on this one. So keep Okta up there first. I really like this one. Crowd would be another one. So I'm just kind of looking for a little money rotation here. Some of the former growth stocks that had really big moves. Some of these have pulled back nicely. We talked about Lulu last week as well, and you saw some good movements in there. Again, it's day specific. You have some other nice charts we'll talk about, but same thing here. Got a couple of really nice pullbacks in this one here. And look, it's got nice 3 days holding this zone, which was a support going back about a month or so ago. So right into this area, you got even more major support really close by. I like this chart. I really, really like this chart. And I think if you find areas just so... If you guys want to follow along with what I'm looking at, those that went to the checkmark webinar and understand, if you get a period of time where you get a massive flush like this, a really aggressive candle after candle after candle, when you get down into these support levels, you often get some very strong aggressive bounces. You see, it did it back to back. So every time this thing kind of breaks low of day, you see there's a pattern that stocks follow, not just your typical standard, you know, technical analysis preaching like double tops, double bottoms, all that kind of stuff. Certain stocks have certain behaviors, and that's what we try to sniff out and find to give ourselves a little edge. So when you look at something like this, you see that it has this flush and a bounce, a flush and a bounce. Now, kind of just touching back on something if I confused anybody in the beginning. When I said about targets, normally I would hold this all the way until it got up here. You know, in a bull market, you can stretch it out. You can be a little bit lenient, a little higher size, a little more flexible stop because the volatility is not in this market. You got to trail up and take money because you just don't know. It could turn around and dump on you in a flash. So I like this crowd. So the two that I like the most here is crowd and the stock that I forgot that I just said, Okta. Those two I really, really like. Now, there are two other stocks that have some bull tendencies. Now, when I say bull tendencies, what I'm really referring to here is I'm not sure I really love this setup. It's not the most perfect setup. But the market will not stop buying these stocks, or they have far less drawdown when the market sells off. And then they have stronger bounces. They seem to keep fussing their way higher. That's Facebook and Roku. Now, you can always put Peloton in there, but I'm tired of talking about Peloton. By the way, most of you know I closed it out, my swing position from 27 and sold it for $100 a share. I feel so good about that. Anyway, Facebook. Let's talk about Facebook. Same thing here. I mean, this thing just keeps continuing to work its way higher. Now, it's too high right now as I'm doing it. There's no way I chase absolutely no reason. I'm telling you guys right now, no reason to buy a breakout. None. They don't really work in good markets. This is a disaster for that. Price is premium here. Your price is everything on entry. You've got to get good entry prices or you're just cutting your throat before you start. I like this one. Any pullback, anywhere it develops a support, anywhere it slides into range, -2, -4, I'm in this thing. I like this one. And Prince Roku, King Baba and Prince Roku, this is starting to become a stock again. You're starting to see some great behavior out of this, especially on the daily chart. Now, some of these have earnings, so please pay attention to that. These are just scalp intraday trades. I have no desire right now to open these here for swings. I'm just not. I'm not into that with this market. There's too much sketchiness. I'll wait a couple of weeks. I already have some swing positions from the part-time trader. I got some room on those, so I don't really want to put more risk on the table. Pretty good since this last run up. I mean, the dips get bought in this. So when you're looking at that, You could put, I'm just going to name some off the top of my head without showing you charts. So when some people say, what about this one? Or what about this one? Some of the ones I've experienced, Spot, SPOT, for example, that's doing the same thing. I mentioned Facebook. I mentioned Roku. You could put Splunk, SPLK in that. It seems to keep sniffing its way a little bit higher. So those are ones I'm sure you have your own too, but they have some relative strength against the market. So I kind of like this. I'm looking through the list to see if there's anything else I want to quickly, maybe DOCU. I did a video a couple of weeks ago about DOCU, D-O-C-U. This is disgruntled trader talk. What is that, you ask? That's where the stock is not taking you out yet. You know, it's not, but it isn't. It's teasing you like Rocket, RKT, like Neo before it finally took off. It takes these parabolic bounces or gaps up 3, and you're like, okay, good, and then it sells the whole thing off, and it stops. Then the next day it gaps up $2 or $3 and sells the whole thing off. It's like, come on. Come on. Do I need to open up another account and short against this long on every spike? This thing's struggling real bad. But the only reason I'm bringing this up for you is because I want to be kind to DOCU. I want to love you, DOCU. I want you to have my heart. I need you to need me, DOCU. Anyway. Friday was like the first good day in a while. A lot like Okta. It's pulled back. It's down like 15, 16 bucks. It's holding this support. It's not the cleanest looking thing. What I'm looking for here is to give me a little bit more consistency intraday, a little more volume, and I'd like to step in on this trade. Not swinging this one either. Not swinging. Actually, I took a swing a couple days ago and had to stop out on it because, you know, it was just red candle in my face. Anyway, keep those on the list. Remember, key to this right now, pre-election, trade small. Number one, you got to lower your size, give yourself a tiny bit more room than normal. You got to reduce your targets. But it all starts first with you being very selective at what you take. So before you take a trade in this market right now, I want to just ask yourself this question. Is this the best place for me to put my money now? Or am I better off on the sidelines? What is my reward for doing this? Or am I taking an abundant amount of risk that's unnecessary? Because I'd rather save my bullets for a better day, if you know what I mean. Anyway, guys, I want you to trade well. If you need help, find me at support@thelincolnlist.com. Whether you are a day trader, a swing trader, a momentum trader, a position trader, an options trader, a futures trader, we can help you. Visit thelincolnlist.com. Take care. Trade well. Until next time, see you.